Hey friends, today I thought it might be fun to take you along with me as my husband and I go antique shopping. I thought it might be neat to show you some of the different things and items that I am drawn to, what I like to look for when I go antique shopping, and just, some of the things that I have collected over the years from antique shops. I also thought that it would be fun afterwards to take you around our home and show you some of my favorite antique store finds. And I thought it would also be fun to share some tips on how to collect antiques and use them throughout your home without spending a ton of money on them. I know some people probably assume that antiques are very expensive, and sometimes they are, but I'm going to share some tips with you later on so that you can save money and start including them in your own home. So this very first antique shop that we visited was brand new to us. We'd never been to this one before. And my husband and I really love to find new antique shops. It has become something that we just really enjoy doing together. And I know a lot of you might be thinking he just does it for me, but he really enjoys it. Sometimes I finish shopping before he does. I have to go find him and see what it is that he's looking at or a book that he's reading. But this particular shop was really neat. This hutch was so beautiful with the scallop detail on top. But one of the very first items that really I like to shop for when we go antique shopping is vintage kitchen tools and items. I have a kitchen full of old wooden spoons and crocks, and you can see here, if you've been following along for a while, I found some Falstaff. I love this white heritage collection, but these pieces were a little pricey. But here we have a few more antique kitchen tools. Now I have so many of these at this point that I really don't need any more, but I just like to look through them just in case. This particular cutting board was $50, which I thought was a little bit pricey, so I passed on it. But you can find so many neat things for your kitchen at antique shops, and one thing that I really like to look out for is pottery. This particular bowl was beautiful. I kind of regret not grabbing it. It was such a pretty color. I also really loved this old butter crock. I thought it was really cute, but it's just, once again, it was a little pricey, and I just wasn't something that I needed. I already have a couple of butter dishes in my own kitchen, but you can tell I'm very drawn to blues and whites. It's just something that I really love to incorporate, and this picture wasn't bad at $20. It was really beautiful. I love the design on it, and I kind of regret not grabbing it, but my husband tends to enjoy looking at old tools, things of that nature. He actually ended up finding this really cool tool belt. He's been wanting one for a long time, and this one was made of leather, but it was very specific. It was specifically for a lineman, so it didn't quite have the space he would have wanted for his tape measure and things like that, but he still tried it on. Turn to the side.
So my tape measure wouldn't even fit this.
Yeah.
This is for your little tape measure. There's a little guy.
I also like looking at things for my boys. My son Ethan loves putting padlocks on things. So he's always looking for them when we go antiquing as a family. But it's just really neat, the types of things you can find at antique shops, and you can really incorporate so much character into your home by shopping for antiques. My husband showed me this old high chair. It's beautiful, but it's not something we really need anymore as our boys have grown older. Now, these were so cool. I actually took some footage and some photos for my mom because she loves to collect these. They are called a spinner's distaff, and they're always so unique, but she said she didn't need any more. So again, I'm just looking at these beautiful kitchen items here. You'll see later on in the video what I'm talking about. My kitchen is full of items like this. Now this shelf really caught my eye. It was so beautiful. I loved the edge and the detail. The bowl was beautiful as well. But of course, the shelf was not for sale, and the bowl was just a little bit too pricey. I think it was $50 or $60. Now this basket was something that caught my eye. I love hanging wall baskets and filling them with flowers. They make for beautiful wreaths on like a closet door or a front door. And I think that one was beautiful. It was just a little small. I also like to look at artwork. This particular painting, it was an original painting. It didn't have a price on it. It was very heavy. The frame was a little ornate for me, but it was so beautiful in that particular frame that I wanted to leave it for someone else. Now, the only thing I ended up purchasing in this antique store was this brass scoop. I got it for my mom. You can find a whole home tour of my mom's house here on my channel. She loves antiques just like I do, and so I purchased that for her. Now, the following day, we went to a couple of antique shops that we are very familiar with. We shop here often. This print was really affordable, and I thought the colors were beautiful. Again, I just couldn't think of a spot in my home that I needed it, but I just wanted to show you the prices of some of this other artwork. You can see the one that I just showed was $300. This one is close to $800. So that's why I have a lot of prints in my home, because original artwork tends to be very expensive. Now this table/bench was so cool. It was $95. I loved all the different colors on here. I love the fact that it was chippy and it had such great character. I really thought that this would make for an amazing coffee table in the right space. It would also be beautiful at the end of a bed with maybe some pillows on it, but I don't know. Again, we have a smaller home. I didn't really have a spot for it, but I really thought it was cool, and I loved that gray blue paint that was on it. This collection I thought was absolutely beautiful. I don't have the space for something like this in my home, but I just wanted to share it with you guys. I'm always just so drawn again to the blues and the whites, especially now that I have a blue stove, and you'll see that later on in the video. But I love booths at antique shops that are very curated, they're organized, everything is displayed beautifully. I'm just drawn to those type of booths, and this particular piece I just thought was so beautiful. What a statement piece. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's a juicer, I would assume, of some kind. This salt container was absolutely beautiful as well, a crock, but it was $55, so just a little bit pricey for me. Anyways, the next booth that we went into is probably one of my absolute favorites. If anything, it's just great for inspiration. I just find that I am drawn to primitives, and almost everything in this booth is from Germany, which is really special. If you don't know, my husband is from Germany. And so it's just really cool to look at these old antiques. I love looking at old breadboards. You'll see one in my home that we've purchased from this particular booth later on. But everything is just displayed so beautifully here, and the owners are so sweet. We love to talk to them whenever we stop in. This quilt was so pretty, and oh my goodness, what do you guys think? $165. I feel like that was a lot of money for a vintage quilt, but man, the colors are just so beautiful. And this gorgeous armoire, oh my goodness, I just had to share it with you guys. I think it was over $1,000, but I wanted to share it with you. Whenever I see a collection of, white dishes on a wood shelf, I'm always drawn to it, and so I've got to go check it out. But everything in this particular antique shop was a little bit pricey for me, I have to say. $75 for this picture, for example, that's just a little much in my opinion. I like to spend around $25 for items like this. And I'll share a few with you later on that I've purchased over the years at antique shops, and I've gotten some really great deals on things. So now what I'm going to do as I finish up antique shopping and showing you this beautiful footage, I'm going to take you in my own home, and I'm going to share some of my favorite antiques and also how I was able to score these antiques for a lot less. Now, the first item I want to share with you is our coffee table. It's so cool. It's like an old bench, and I purchased this at an antique fair. And that's my first tip for you, is to go to flea markets and fairs. I find that the prices tend to be a little bit lower. You're also able to negotiate with the seller, and they are a little bit more motivated to sell because, they brought all their stuff, they set it all up, and it's just fun to get to talk to them, get to know them. And I just have found in the past that they have been very willing to work with you on the price. This fun table underneath my chalkboard is probably one of my absolute favorite antiques, and it was also purchased at an antique fair. And the gentleman was so kind, and he was willing to go lower on it for me. I just love the color and the patina, and I've looked at tables similar to this one on like eBay or on Etsy, for example, and they are just hundreds of dollars for a small primitive table like this. And mine was very, very affordable. So a lot of these kitchen items that I have been purchased at antique shops and thrift stores over the years. But this picture here in the corner is an example of something I purchased at an antique fair, and it was just $20. I think he may have even gone down to like 18 for me, and it's so beautiful. I love it in my kitchen. This piece up in my bedroom, this dry sink between the chairs up there, was also purchased at a antique market. Now, my next tip is to ask your parents and grandparents if they have any antiques that they would like to pass on to you. These awesome duck decoys, I have several of them. They were my grandfather's, and they're very special to me. He collected them, and so I kind of have them sprinkled throughout my home. This antique copper kettle that I have near our fireplace was also my grandfather's. They tend to be very expensive in antique shops, but this was my grandpa's, and it's so special to be able to incorporate these items into my home. And even something like this cutting board on my display here, my grandfather gave this to me before he ever passed away. This was something he told me I could have. So just asking them to see if they'd be willing to part with anything. A lot of times they have things that they aren't even using, maybe stored away. This desk was also my grandfather's next to our bed, and it is so beautiful. I love it here so much. I kind of keep my Bible and my books inside here. And I've just paired it with this beautiful antique chair that my husband gave to me for our anniversary. It's an antique from Germany, from that booth I was telling you about. The two go so beautifully together, but this desk was my grandfather's as well. And we have just lots of pieces sprinkled throughout the home, including this little children's rocker. This woven rocking chair was my grandfather's, and I have it up in my bedroom. So my next tip for you is to just visit antique stores often, like I said before, and get to know the owners, talk to them, so that, when you come inside to visit, they know who you are. A lot of times they're willing to work with you because they know you're a repeat customer. This giant breadboard here that I'm adjusting was actually a gift from my husband from that very same booth that I told you I loved so much. And when you visit often, you're able to see that turnover more often as well. So these booth owners are constantly switching things over, and both of these baskets, one was $15 and one was $20. They both came from antique shops, and those are great prices for baskets. Now here's another example of a stoneware pitcher that I purchased at an antique shop. It was only $25, and look how gorgeous it is. I love the colors in my kitchen and a lot of the items you see there in the background. The crocks, the spoons, a lot of the copper all came from antique shops. And so just visiting often and trying to get to know the owners, you're going to have more of a chance, just like thrifting, you'll have more of a chance of finding items if you frequent these stores a little bit more often. All right, so another tip that I have for you is to check Facebook Marketplace often. You can find some amazing deals on antiques if you are checking Facebook Marketplace. I've shared this with you before, but my dining room chairs came from Facebook Marketplace. And when I compare prices of chairs at antique shops compared to the price that I found these on Facebook, they were very affordable. I'm sorry about the Valentine's Day art there in the background, but just so many of the items in my home were purchased on Facebook Marketplace, and if you love antiques, it's a great place to shop. That mirror/window that we have hanging in our dining room was also a Facebook Marketplace find. I think it was $25, something like that. And we just sprayed the glass so that it looks like an antique mirror in there. But another tip that I have for you is also to check antique stores whenever you go on vacation. You can find some really awesome things when you're on vacation. It's so easy nowadays to Google local thrift shops, antique shops. This vintage shopping cart that I have here in the corner under my breadboard/cutting board display, I found that when I was in North Carolina on vacation, and it's one of my favorite finds. Also, this artwork here in our dining room I purchased in Germany at a German flea market, and I cherish it. It's super special. It reminds me of Germany whenever I walk by it. And the same goes for this artwork here. The artwork hanging behind me here was purchased in North Carolina, and actually the ladder was purchased at a yard sale, garage sale. So anyways, I hope these tips sort of encouraged you guys. I know antique shopping can seem sort of maybe a little bit more intimidating, but you really can save a lot of money by going to flea markets and visiting antique fairs, things like that. Make sure, as springtime rolls around, there's going to be garage sales and yard sales. Visit those, get on Facebook Marketplace and check that out. And you might find some really awesome things there. And then just frequent your antique stores often so that you can, see what they have that's new on display. And anyways, I so enjoyed taking you guys along with me today. I hope you were inspired by today's video. I would love for you to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.